Hey guys, it's me, Vanessa, aka the Math Guru, and we're here for another episode of Math Therapy, but I can't believe I'm about to say what I'm about to say, which is my audiobook is officially out. Last year, my book came out, Math Therapy, 5 Steps to Heal Your Math Trauma and Build a Better Relationship with Math. And I have finally turned it into an audiobook. And guys, I cannot even explain how crazy the process was. Like, I would be lying if I didn't say I hated every minute of it. It took literally over 30 hours. Me and David, the producer of this podcast, recorded the whole thing ourselves in like this basement room that we covered in blankets to soundproof it. It was 90 degrees. I'm saying it in Fahrenheit for everyone, okay? But like, let's say 33 Celsius. We couldn't turn on the air conditioning or the fans or open the windows because like we couldn't have the mic pick up any noises. So we were sitting here in the heat recording it with ice pack. I had an ice pack in my bra. Like, it was so wild, this entire process, but we did it. We did it, and we're so proud of it. It is our first audiobook ever, and you can find it now everywhere. Amazon, Audible, Apple Books, Spotify, probably a bunch of other places I don't even know exist yet, but I'm so proud of this thing, and I'm so excited because I really wanted the book to be accessible to everyone. I don't know about you guys, but I personally only read nonfiction like through audio. I actually don't like to read a physical nonfiction. So I wanted to make sure everyone out there who wanted access to the book, who also learns that way, would have an audio version of the book. So that is happening now. It's recorded in my own voice, like right here, right now. It's happening and it's out. So anyways, Kate, my point is it's out. As I've just said 2,000 times, it's out. But as a listener of the podcast, I wanted you to be able to hear a part of it. So I wanted to share the entire preface for free with you guys so you can kind of hear like why I decided to write this book and what you can expect from the rest of this book. So okay, sorry, I'm out of breath. I'm all flustered. I didn't script this. I just wanted to like speak from the heart, but I'm getting all like hyperventilating, even remembering the process of recording the audiobook. So like I need to de-escalate. I'm going to go do that. And while I go do that, I am going to play for you the entire preface of Math Therapy. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you like it more than I liked recording it. And I can't wait to hear what you think. Math Therapy. 5 steps to help your students overcome math trauma and build a better relationship with math. Written and narrated by me, Vanessa Vicaria. Dear math therapist in the making, there is one job in this world that I truly believe has more power than any other to change the course of our future as a species, both on an individual and global level. Who is this powerful person I'm getting all fired up about? It's you. The most powerful person in the world is the math teacher. Yes, I might be biased, but hear me out. I believe that every single math teacher has an opportunity that no other teacher has. I'm not hating on the history and geography teachers. I love you guys. But here's the thing. By early to mid elementary school, many of our students have gotten the message that there's this thing on the planet called math that certain people can and can't do. That belief takes root inside of them, more often than not laying the foundation for a lifetime of limiting beliefs that start stacking up. The next time they face an obstacle, they might say to themselves, is this just another thing I was born unable to do? Not making the soccer team turns into, I guess I'm just not athletic. Getting passed over for a job turns into, I'm unemployable, so why bother trying? Getting ghosted after a first date turns into, I'm unlovable and probably destined to be single forever. And on it goes. Whether or not a child is given permission to dream big or small often starts and ends with whether or not they're given the message that they are a math person or not. That's why it's you who has the incredible power and privilege of changing their lives far beyond your classroom walls. It is you who holds the keys to unlocking their mathematical mindsets, releasing the dreams that lie within. And that's why I wrote this book. Math therapy isn't just about helping students kick butt in math class. What it's really about, and what I believe education is really about, is empowering students to develop the skills they need to live a life in which they truly believe that anything is possible, even a better relationship with math. And I want to help you help your students do just that. I'm not asking you to believe that every single child is capable of getting an A+ in your class, or of being a rocket scientist, or even of performing mental calculations with total accuracy. I am asking you to believe, like really believe, that every child is capable of building a better relationship with math than they have right now. Our students know whether we believe in them or not, and that in turn shapes whether or not they ultimately believe in themselves. Now, I want you to imagine that you're a parent watching a child without a physical disability learn how to walk. No matter how long it takes for them to take their first steps, no matter how many times they fall in the process, and no matter how much they insist that walking is just too hard, I'm going to guess that you would never once pause to think to yourself, maybe little Johnny just isn't a walking person. Maybe walking just isn't his thing. That's cool. No biggie. He has other strengths. Am I right? You would probably coax and coach and cheer on little Johnny with all of the belief in your heart that with patience and perseverance, little Johnny was going to be an amazing walker. It's that kind of belief that I want you to bring to the table when it comes to your students' relationships with math. As hard as this is to hear, in many cases, you might be the only adult in some of your students' lives who actually believes in their capacity to grow and change, both inside and sometimes even outside of math class. If they can sense that you believe that they can make progress, they too will begin to believe it as well. So channel your inner Ted Lasso and believe. The official preface. Hi, my name is Vanessa Vicaria, and I failed grade 11 math twice. Actually, almost 3 times, but who's counting? Okay, let me back up. I went to a fairly academic school in Toronto, which shall remain unnamed. Let's just say that their mantra was, we're not a high school, we're a collegiate institute, which basically translated to, if you're not getting an A, we really don't want you around to give us a bad rep. Well, I was very busy doing the latter by insisting that my only interests included A, becoming a rock star, and B, marrying Keanu Reeves. And I certainly wasn't getting an A in math class, or any class for that matter, except for art. I was the weird kid who wore blue lipstick, smoked cigarettes, and whose report card comments seemed to always contain some variation of, Vanessa is not living up to her full potential. While all of this was going down, it seemed like almost everyone in my life was reaffirming my life choices by letting me know, in one way or another, that failing math was my destiny. Girls like me weren't made for math. I just wasn't a math person. Here's the thing. I totally agreed. It was the 90s, math was for losers, and I was meant for the Hollywood Hills. That was a no-brainer. But you know who thankfully didn't agree? My parents. After I finally passed math in summer school, my parents decided it was time for a change. So off I went to the private alternative school down the street, which was low-key known as the School for Misfits. It was heaven. It was nothing like my old school. First of all, it was in an office building. We had to take elevators to get to our classrooms. Second, we called teachers by their first names, which for a teenager is just about like the coolest thing you can do. Third, and most important, there were only about 100 kids in the whole school, which meant that there were no cliques. There were no jocks or nerds or math people or non-math people. We were all just misfits who, for one reason or another, found ourselves in this magical space. The thing is, none of our teachers thought we were there because we couldn't hack regular school or because we were stupid. It was the opposite. They all believed that we were there because we were smart and that our inner light simply hadn't been given permission to shine through in a traditional educational setting. When I walked into my brand new grade 12 math class, I felt something I'd never truly felt before. My teachers seemed to believe in me. Now, I don't remember the exact details, but my first encounter with Eva, my math teacher, and the teacher who would literally change the trajectory of my entire life, went a little something like this. I started with, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I don't know how this is going to go because I'm not a math person. Eva looked at me and said, I'm sorry, pardon me? I repeated, I'm not a math person. Eva looked at me with a long, dramatic pause and then just said, that's not a thing. Everything changed after that. Okay, it's not like, poof, I suddenly became a math genius or something, but my relationship with math changed. Like, totally changed. I started doing things I'd never, ever done before. For example, when I didn't understand something, I raised my hand and asked for clarification. If something didn't make sense, I asked Eva to explain it to me in a different way. I took notes and I did my homework and I checked my answers at the back of the book. And when I didn't get something right, I sought out help because I believed that I had the capacity to understand it. I discovered that I loved the methodical nature of whittling complex algebraic equations down to a simplified expression. I reveled in the art of mathematical proofs, in the neatness of setting up and then solving a problem. And most of all, I found the unparalleled gratification of helping others discover their own ability to do something they had been convinced they would never, ever be capable of doing. I ended up with a 96% in Eva's math class. I know, it's not about the mark, but guys, come on. It was a big deal. But what was a way bigger deal was that I had gone from, there are some things on this planet that I just can't do, straight to, if I can get a 96% in math class after being told for most of my life that I literally can't, what else can I do in this world? My entire life changed. I hadn't realized it, but the belief that math was this thing that I just couldn't do had been holding me back in so many ways. Years later, I discovered that this is known as a limiting belief. Limiting beliefs are essentially a type of negative thought that holds people back by creating impenetrable mental barriers that prevent them from moving forward with confidence. That was exactly what had happened to me until I met Eva. The limiting belief that there was just something that I couldn't do, in this case math, had subconsciously been in the back of my head anytime I considered trying something new or dreaming my biggest dreams. It was like I was always waiting for the other shoe to drop, always waiting to discover what else I was just innately incapable of doing. But after Eva, everything was different. I wanted to try everything. I wanted to show every single person on the planet that they had been sold a big fat lie, that there was no such thing as a math person, that there was no such thing as any kind of person. I wanted to go after all of my crazy, wild rock star dreams. I wanted to start a band. Okay, so spoiler alert, I did end up starting a band. And if you're asking yourself, what's the connection between healing your math trauma and being on stage in front of over 10,000 people opening for Bon Jovi, you're in luck, because you're eventually going to find out. What started as a somewhat personal vendetta against a system that tried to shut me down turned into a very personal mission to show literally everyone that they too could build a better relationship with math than the one they'd been sentenced to, and that they too could rediscover what it was like to live a life of wondrous, boundless hope. Now, okay, I know it might sound a little out there that I'm suggesting that building a better relationship with math might be basically like the gateway drug to building a life permeated by hope, but hear me out. Most kids are told in one way or another that they have a deficit when it comes to math and have carried that belief into adulthood. Most kids are told early on in their lives that they are simply not that good at math and should focus on their actual strengths, and they will carry that belief with them for the rest of their lives. And most kids get the message that they just don't have what it takes, period. Think about that for a second. By the age of 6, 50% of our students are already exhibiting signs of math anxiety. Many have gotten the message that math is something on this planet that they are simply born incapable of doing. This belief that they innately can't do math is the scaffolding upon which many of them build walls constructed and obstructed by limiting beliefs. Maybe some of you even got the same message and built up those same walls. You already know that I did. Being told that math just isn't for us, or that we're not math people, or that we should forget about math in favor of our other strengths are some of the first experiences many of us have that suggest that there are skills on this planet that are unavailable to us. Because math ability is so often culturally associated with intelligence, Being told that we can't do math has the painful effect of making us feel less than, affecting our self-worth in all areas of our lives, both personal and professional. The culmination of experiences that lead us to the conclusion that we are innately incapable of math can be traumatizing, and most of us never fully move on. But it doesn't have to be that way. About this book. I wrote Math Therapy as a message of hope. It is the culmination of more than 20 years as a math educator, of hearing hundreds of math stories on my podcast and in interviews, and of helping thousands of students build a better relationship with math, and as a result, with themselves. I was blessed with an incredible number of privileges that helped me build a better relationship with math. Parents who cared, a private alternative school education, and a skilled teacher who believed in me. But your students too are blessed because they have you. I'm going to reiterate what I said at the start of this preface because it is that important. Math teachers have an opportunity to change the entire trajectory of a student's life by helping them heal their relationship with math. Now, even if you're not an official teacher of math, we are all teachers of math attitudes. Regardless of what grade you teach, what role you play in education, or whether you consider yourself an educator at all, your relationship with math affects those around you. The way you do math, talk about doing math, or talk about who can do math has more of an impact than you might think. It teaches those around us how to feel about math, either directly or indirectly. That's why it's important for all of us to build a better relationship with math. And that's why no matter who you are, the fact that you are about to learn all about how to heal from math trauma is in itself a gift that you will inadvertently re-gift to everyone you know. About language. Let's talk language. I've done my best to write in a way that feels the most accessible and the most authentic to me, and hopefully you. All the while trying to be conscious that language is ever evolving. In my work, when I want to write, teach, and speak in a way that is relatable to educators, students, and anyone out there who wants to build a better relationship with math, I don't think I can do it by using the pedantic language required by most academic institutions. I have often been underestimated, overlooked, and not taken seriously because of the way I speak. I've been told that I should say like less often, fix my Valley girl accent. I'm from Toronto, by the way, so like very far from any peak or valley. And I've been told that I should be more serious. Sorry, not sorry. That's just not who I am. I wrote this book from my heart to yours, and I hope that you hear my voice in every word that I have written. This is why I use all caps a lot, and why I use italics and exclamation points liberally. Language is constructed, and in making language choices, I recognize that we are often complicit in its construction, which is why I want to acknowledge certain choices that I made. When I am writing about racialized people, I use the current most recognized term for the group. For example, Black, Latin, and Indigenous. I made the choice not to capitalize white when I am referring to race because that can be offensive to some. I use the phrase people of color to describe all those who are non-white. I use the phrase underrepresented groups in mathematics in keeping with the definition of the National Science Foundation to describe those whose representation in mathematics degree programs and math-related careers is lower than their representation in the U.S. population. When I speak of marginalized students, I do so to describe those who additionally experience systemic disadvantages, such as those related to race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, gender, sexual orientation, disability, or other characteristics. When using terms such as men, women, girls, and boys, I refer to all who identify with these terms. I know that some do not identify with binary genders, and I have avoided using he or she when a person's preferred designation is not known, choosing instead to use non-gender terms such as students, individuals, and people, or the pronoun they. I admit that I use you guys at times. I don't literally mean guys, but y'all just doesn't roll off my tongue. All this to say that I know that my language choices aren't perfect, but I hope that this at least begins to clarify why I made the choices that I did. I also want to add that when I'm telling stories throughout these pages, which I do a lot, that in some cases names of people have been changed, and in other cases, aka where permission has been granted, they have not. Now, let's talk about the effing elephant in the room, swearing. If you're familiar with my podcast, or if you know me personally, you know that I swear a lot. I know that salty language isn't everyone's cup of tea, but I also wanted to write this book in my authentic voice. So as a compromise, I've bleeped out a few letters to keep things PG. Finally, I'm Canadian. Before I started writing this book, I don't think I ever noticed how many language differences there are between us and America. I mean, I feel like we're the only ones who even call it America. We say 100%, they say 4.0. We say mark, they say grade. We spell color with a U, they spell color without a U. And on it goes. I have tried to make my language as universal as possible in this book, but if I went all Canadian on you somewhere in these pages, just blame the maple syrup. Now, because you're listening to this as an audiobook, there are a few things I want to say about the structure. The first 2 chapters are going to cover what math trauma and math therapy are. Then we get into the 5 steps, and each chapter will cover one of the steps of math therapy, explain why it works. There'll be a bunch of juicy stories, and there will be a ton of activities and things for you to actually try out. And also, there are a ton of online templates and resources to accompany those activities, and I need to tell you right now what the password is. You can get them online for free, but when you go to maththerapy.com, you will be prompted to enter a password for the bonus content. The password is Keanu, all lowercase, Keanu. Oh, and in the written version of the book, there are 2 features. One is called Hot Tip, the other is called In the Moment. They show up on pages at random in the middle of whatever it is I'm talking about, and you're going to hear them in the audiobook. Hot tips are usually examples or diversions that I share to really hammer home a point. And In the Moment is an opportunity to pause and reflect a bit more deeply about how the topic we're discussing applies to you. One more thing. Listen to this book however you want. You can totally just skip over the activities at the end of each chapter and come back to them later, or you can listen to the entire thing as written. Up to you. Okay, wait, no, for real, this is the last thing. Since this book came out, I have heard of so many of you starting your own math therapy book clubs and book studies, and it made me so excited that I wanted to invite you to do the same. You could even start a math therapy audiobook club. I've included 21 juicy questions to get you started, and you can find those book club questions online at maththerapy.com. So why now and why you? As Hillel the Elder is attributed with saying, if not you, then who? If not now, when? Those words come to mind now as we are at a moment in time in which we have never needed math more, yet we have never been more divided when it comes to who can actually access that math. Headlines continuously warn us both that the majority of jobs in the next decade will require math, and yet that the majority of students around the world are failing to meet math standards. As educators, we understand that behind those clickbait numbers are actual, real kids who are suffering. These are young people who don't coincidentally happen to all be bad at math or to all simply be unmotivated or lazy or incapable of learning. But they do have something in common. These numbers represent children who, in one way or another, have likely experienced math trauma. A concept that has been mentioned in passing by many, but that has not been properly defined, explored, unpacked, and addressed. As I will discuss in Chapter 1, most of us have experienced math trauma at least once, but those from communities that are traditionally and currently marginalized in math education are even more likely to be exposed to scholastic practices that might lead to math trauma, making it even harder for them to feel a sense of belonging in the world of math. When we neglect to heal students' relationships with math, and we neglect to provide equitable access to education, we elect to maintain a status quo in which we include some, but ultimately exclude most. I know that some of you are likely wondering how you can carry out this work when the mere mention of emotions in math class can be the cause for alarm at the school, district, or even state level. Or when you have so much content to go through that it seems like math trauma can't possibly make it onto your to-do list. I totally get it. Here's what brain-based educator Liesl McConchie says. A student's emotional relationship with math is foundational to their cognitive relationship with math. This is what I tell anyone who's skeptical that helping a student build a better relationship with math will more likely than not lead to improved proficiency in actual math skills. Seriously, you can have the best content and pedagogy in the world, but if a student has shut down and built walls, it's never going to reach them. That is why math therapy is a crucial first step in any sort of initiative directed at improving math performance and proficiency. And hopefully, this is helpful for you if you feel like you have to justify your commitment to this practice. If you picked up this book, you are likely as worried about our collective relationship with math as I am. Maybe you're worried that your students won't be able to get into college or into a career trajectory that will enable them to support themselves. Perhaps you're worried that they won't have the financial literacy needed to make wise decisions and live within their means. Maybe you're nervous that they won't have the foundational math skills needed to decipher the proliferation of numbers and stats that permeate our screens. And as a result, they'll get sucked into some whack conspiracy theory and join a cult or something. Or maybe you're stressed out about the idea that a large percentage of today's students will be working in jobs that don't even exist today, and that they simply won't be prepared with the skills needed to access those jobs. All of those concerns are totally valid and totally warranted. But you guys know where I stand. The one thing that worries me most, above all, is that our students might grow up believing that they are undeserving of going after their wildest dreams. That, to me, is unacceptable. And that, to me, starts with math. Every single child should have the privilege of believing that anything is possible. And in fact, we as a society need them to believe that for our own benefit as a species. I know it sounds extreme, but guys, we need kids to grow up believing that there are solutions to the unsolved mysteries of our time. We need them to believe that climate change can be mitigated, that racism can be extinguished, that cancer can be cured, that peace and love can one day reign supreme. If not them, then who? If not now, when? In this book, you will discover the most important and impactful steps you can take to help your students heal their math trauma and build a better relationship with math. You will learn science-backed strategies that really work and unpack toolkits full of actions, activities, and quick adjustments to your classroom practice that you can implement effectively right away, right now. I wrote math therapy as a message of hope, and it is my hope that you will bring your own magic to its pages. It takes a village to change the culture of mathematics, and it takes a leap of faith to believe that we can. I am so, so happy you're here. Yours in peace, love, and pie, XOXO, Vanessa.
It's so
Just start.
incredibly ironic how
I hope
much
you're recording right now.
you hate the process of recording, yet you insisted on making a weekly podcast. Literally insisted, and you could not hate recording more.
Is this on?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, guys. The best part about, I mean, first of all, I hope you love what you just heard, but I just want you guys to know that I've been trying to record the outro of this quote unquote episode, and me and David have been in a giant fight about how.
One of us has been in a fight. I am just doing my job very pleasantly, and you
It's true.
You're a very difficult.
I'm a difficult client. The talent is difficult. My point is, what you're getting is the real behind the scenes of what it was like to record that entire audiobook. And I'm just so glad you were recording one of many fights. If you liked that audiobook, and I hope you did, because as you can see, the blood, sweat, and tears are real, you can find the links to buy it in the episode description. You can also find the links to buy the paperback copy in the show description. It has a very beautiful, shiny pink cover. Okay. Also, I want to say, ever since the book has come out, there have been so many incredible teacher groups doing book studies, which have been so cool to see. School districts have been, I can't even speak, but we're going to keep it. We're not going to edit it.
It's called a book club.
No, they actually call them book studies in the education world.
God,
David.
The first time I've been wrong.
Oh my God, he's trying to mansplain education to me, guys. JK, we love him. He's an ally. Okay, let's focus. There have been so many incredible teachers and school districts doing book studies. If you want to start one, you could start an audiobook study. At the back of the book, there is actually an entire section for book study questions. And I would love to show up for a book study session with you. So if you're doing it over Zoom, I can always show up for one of them. I love doing that. I love to hear what you think. I should probably end this now, but this has been intense. This has been awesome. I really, really hope you loved it. And I'm very proud of what we have created here. David, I love you. Oh my God, if you guys could see his face right now. Listen to the book, find it, Amazon, Audible, Apple Books, Spotify, a bunch of other places. Should we keep this?
Oh, fuck, I wasn't recording. We're going to have to do it again.
What? Oh my God. Okay, enough.
Gotcha!
Enough. Okay, I think that we're just going to keep that.